This is Bart Robley, and this is huge. Today could not get any better. This is amazing. We'll tell the story in a minute of how this happened. Anyway, welcome to the Drummers Education Connection. You're here with myself, Bart Robley, my good friend above me today, who's down in San Diego, Rick Stojak.
Hey.
Jeremy Steinkohler up in the Bay Area. And none other than the man himself, drumming's global ambassador, Dom Famularo. Dom, how are you today?
Hey.
Guys, great to see you all, man. You guys are doing a great job with this here, and you're bringing our drumming community together, and it's healthy, it's happy, it's positive. You're doing fantastic. Thanks.
Oh, man, thanks for coming on the show. It's so funny. I'll tell the story real quick. I was up. I just gotten out of bed, and I have my first cup of coffee. I'm going like this, and I get a text, and I was like, are we on for 2 o'clock today? I'm like, who's this? It's Dom Famularo. Oh, yes, we're on for a day. So we came together really fast. We made it happen. And, man, this is just awesome, Dom. Thank you so much. And thank you for sending me that text this morning. Hey, so we started the show, or before we started the show, we were asking about, stuff that's going on and everything like that. Let's start with the big one. Let's start with the drum together thing that is going on right now. It's a few months old, but tell everybody about it and tell them what you did and who played on it and all that sort of stuff.
This is thank you, gentlemen. This is still going. It's still live on YouTube, and we're still raising money. And the idea was to raise money for Why Hunger. Why Hunger is an organization that was started by the late, great Harry Chapin. Harry Chapin was from Long Island. I met Harry many years ago because I was studying with his father, Jim Chapin. Mm-hmm. And many people don't realize that Jim's son was Harry Chapin. Harry Chapin was a great, great songwriter, wrote many great songs like Taxi and Cats in the Cradle. And Harry, I got to meet Harry in the late 60s and got to know him before his career was anything and just saw this whole thing develop. And he was just a beautiful person. And he was dedicated to help feed people. He noticed many people that were starving in his concerts. So he would ask people at his concerts, everyone, when you buy a ticket, bring a can of food. So he started collecting literally 2,000 and 3,000 pounds of food per show. Well, then he started distributing it by calling up homeless shelters and churches and police departments and fire departments, whatever he could do to get this food out of there. And people, when they saw what he was doing for the community, wanted him back to perform because they saw what he was doing as far as feeding everyone. So eventually he put together Why Hunger. And the Y stood for Why Hunger Year. He wanted every year to have that strength of feeding people. So whyhunger.org is the organization. He started it in 1975. He started raising money and funds, and he got eventually the White House under Jimmy Carter to get involved supporting it. This became a national and then eventually an international program. So imagine, out of the mind of this great, great musician. Well, in 1981, Harry passed away. He was killed in a car crash here in Long Island. I happened to be teaching with Jim at a drum shop that day, and I was the one that got the call about Harry being killed to deliver to Jim. So that was a very memorable time in my life. And in there, so I mean, we just celebrated Harry's life. But the bottom line was, I got a call from an old student of mine, Brian Resnick. Brian is a phenomenal student of mine years ago. I mean, like 30 some odd years ago. And he called me up and said, Dom, I'm still playing drums, but I'm now a lawyer, and I'm partners in a firm in New York. And now with COVID happening in 2020, he said, I want to do something to try and raise money to feed people, because more people were starving during COVID and having challenges feeding themselves. So he said, I want to do something in association with Why Hunger. So let's see if we can put an idea together. I said, this is fantastic. He said, but here's what I want to do. I'd like to put a video together. I want to donate money and put a video together that would have drummers playing to a song. And with that song, we would raise more money. I said, Brian, it's a great idea. I'm in. I said, let's do it. So we started meetings with the Why Hunger Executive Board. So we were having Zoom meetings as far as this idea. Brian donated a serious amount of money to get it started. So that convinced Why Hunger to want to get involved with this, say, yes, we can do this. All the different drummers, I knew all the different drummers, so I started calling people up. So the first person I called was Steve Gadd, because I've known Steve now for over 40 years, and I'm of the belief that once you get Steve Gadd involved and he commits to something, everybody else falls in line like dominoes.
Yeah, good call. Good call.
Good call. Good call.
It really is. It's that easy. But Steve, I've worked with many, many years, and we've got a wonderful relationship. And Steve believes in all that I do. So when I called him Steve, I said, Steve, I got this we're going to get a song. We're going to play some drums to it. We're going to video and record and put this together and raise money for Why Hunger. And Steve simply said, Dom, I'm in. When I heard that, it was pretty powerful to hear him say, I'm in. He said, get it. I've got other names of drummers to call. Let me know what help you need. Let me know when you finally get a tune. So I go back to the actual team of Why Hunger. We were having, meetings twice a week on Mondays and on Fridays as far as how we're going to map this out. And we kept on pushing for it. We put this together. And in these meetings, once we got Gad, it started from there. Then I called up Vinny Colaiuta. I called up Greg Bissonette. I called up Dave Weckel, Chad Smith, Brian Fraser Moore. I just started calling up guys. Say, guys, here's what we're doing.
Everybody the B squad, right?
The B squad.
I kind of went through my phone and went through the A's and B's and then started calling guys up. And it was pretty powerful. So within that, we then had to choose a song. So the song that they had asked me, they said, Dom, what song would you like? I said, I like a Beatles song.
Yeah.
And already they were a little nervous about getting a Beatles song. That's nearly impossible. And then when I said I wanted to come together, they said, but nobody gets come together. I said, when you say that only drove Brian and I further to want to push to get the song. Well, we got the rights to the song, and it was pretty powerful that we got the rights to come together. It was just incredible. I called up Jim Keltner and Greg Bissonette. They reached out to Ringo. From Ringo, he said, I'm in. And we put this together. And so far, by putting this together, we had Russ Miller was the one that audio edited this.
Really?
Miller has a studio out in LA. Russ has got brilliant ears. He's a brilliant drummer, teacher, educator at all different levels. Phenomenal performer. Bottom line, he's got great ears to mix this. He mixed not only the 100 drummers, but there were 25 string players, 20, background singers, the vocalists, a big band. I mean, it was, you name it, and Russ mixed it all down. We got Randy Waldman to arrange come together. So the arrangement, because we had classical players and pop players and funk players and big band players and soloists, I said, Randy, it's got to weave through all of that. He goes, give me 2 weeks. I got it. He puts
man.
Randy Waldman. If you haven't listened to Randy Waldman, go check out his Unreal album and his Superheroes album. This is a must to hear because it's brilliant. Vinny's on both of those, and on the Superheroes albums, it's Vinny and Gad. And what you're hearing is just phenomenal arrangements. Randy is a brilliant musician, a brilliant arranger. He put this together. So now we have the arrangement. We've got Russ taking in this information. And then we got my nephew, who's a film producer, to edit this down. Well, the editing job was absolutely brilliant also. Dakota Lupo put this together. They edited this. So with Dakota working with Russ, finding out what sound to use at what spot to put it together. In itself, it was a work of art that was put together, and so far it has raised well over $600,000.
Wow,
man! Congratulations,
Dom. We're feeding people in over 20 countries. It's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. While you were talking, I grabbed the video off of YouTube and I put it on my personal page and on the deck page. And I'll go back later and tag you in it and stuff like that. I just wanted to get it up so anybody watching, later they'll see it and they can go watch it. That's outstanding. That's outstanding. Just the I've watched it numerous times and I love hearing the story because I thought about that. I was like, man, the editing on this must have been crazy. And also the mixing, the snare drum part where all you guys are playing, just to get all the tones to match. I mean, you were playing the rope drum. Everybody else is, man, just the engine, the producing on it is phenomenal.
It goes back to Russ Miller as far as just having the ears, and plus being a drummer, he knew how to blend all this and mix this and fine tune it and EQ it and get the right sounds. I mean, he's just a brilliant mind. And then my nephew working with Russ on the editing, and there was a rough mix, and then it got a little bit more serious, and then it got a little bit more serious until we got to the final. And working on that stage, this was a year-long project. But it was so
really, it was that long, really, no kidding.
It took that long because of getting all the musicians. And then when Randy had they said, listen, Dom, in the jazz section, I need a big band. I need 5 trumpets, 4 trombones, and 5 saxes. So that was thrown on my lap. So I started calling up guys and put together the big band. And then with the string players, Brian Resnick's wife is a phenomenal violinist that has a violin school, but she's also involved with the Philharmonic in New York. She got all these great players together to play the violin part. So Randy had to go back and put together a violin arrangement and send that to them and put that together. It was so intense to go back and put this together, but it's worthwhile when you see the effect of how they're feeding people and how people have been benefited from this effort. I would. It took a lot out of me, but I would easily do it again in a heartbeat.
Dom, what's so fantastic? Oh, sorry, Jeremy.
Right.
What's so fantastic is the diversity of the players that you selected. You've got the greatest jazz drummers. You've got Gene Hoglan, the metal god on there, and they all came together, and it just showed unity. And boy, we need unity more than ever before in the world. And so that's the epitome of unity right there with that performance.
Rick, that was exactly it. And even like when I called up Gene Hoglan, who I'm a huge fan of. Gene is a phenomenal player. I performed with him at many times, and even in Spain together, hearing him play. I said, Gene, before I even finished kind of explaining what it was about, he said, I'm in.
Yeah, that's Gene.
That's Gene.
Yeah.
And then he was one of the few drummers. There were only about maybe 10 or 12 of us that played the chart all the way through. And the reason why I had asked certain people like Steve Gadd and Gene to play it all the way through, because I wanted to have it so when they were editing it, if some guys just put in a certain section of it, and some guys only played the jazz section, Jack DeJohnette, and certain guys did certain sections in the funk section, Garibaldi. It was just so great to see how they did this. Well, the bottom line was Gene played it all the way through.
Yeah.
Had this part down. And just so you know, I've got the chart to it, the drum chart to it, and I've got the entire arrangement minus drums. So I'm going to start sending this out to people to get them to use it. I think I'm going to put it on my website so people can download the music and download the tune and just have it free to use. And it's a great teaching tool because it goes from this classical rudimental reading part to this pop section of the groove of Come Together. Then it's funk shuffle. Then it goes from the funk shuffle into this jazz big band section. Then goes into a solo section. Then back into the pop section, and then it takes it out. And just the whole thing from a student standpoint, it's a great educational tool because they've got to have the ability of being able to play all these different styles.
Gene brought me the chart, Dom, and said, what's this mean? What's that mean? Because we know Gene doesn't read. And I was like, just play.
Just play the drums, man.
Yeah. And of course he nailed it.
He's absolutely brilliant. And I want to get Gene to be able to post his segment of just him playing the whole thing. I want to have certain guys post what they want to post from that too. And we're going to work on that soon to get that happening. So he just sounded fantastic.
That's exciting.
One of the things I love the most about this project is that you've got drummers who are usually just individuals doing their thing in their own little corner of the world with the bands they play with, that don't as very frequently get to play with one another or collaborate with one another on a project that's all about drummers coming together. And Dom, you know every well-known drummer in the world. You've got stories. You've played with them. You've taught with them. You've connected with them. And what a beautiful thing to leverage all those connections to be able to come together for everyone to be able to share in this thing that is so powerful. Together it makes it powerful more than just what we could do as individuals. Just a great.
Yeah. And this was, again, out of the mind of Brian Resnick. He called me, believe it or not, with this idea. He called me on July 16, 2020. And why that day was important, because when he called me, he said, Dom, and he said, I'm not sure if you remember me. I'm an old student of yours, Brian Resnick. I said, yeah, Brian, I remember you from many, many years ago. And he said, I've got this idea, and it's basically in honor of Harry Chapin. And I said, Brian, do you realize what today is? He said, no, it's July 16th, which happened to be the 39th anniversary of Harry Chapin's death.
No way, really?
So I said, I'd like this to be released next year, the 40th anniversary of Harry Chapin's death, that after 40 years, Harry Chapin's vision lives on. This is huge.
Yeah, it's great.
That's deep, man. That's really deep. And one of the things that I've always been, shifting a little bit, but talking about the drumming community. The thing that I've always been so impressed with you, Dom, is, over and above the playing and the clinics and stuff like that, you have always been a champion of the drumming community. I remember being at a clinic of yours. I don't know where it was, but I remember being at one of your clinics, and you were talking about how to build your business. And you said, guys, you may have somebody come to you and they're not within your wheelhouse of what you teach. And you talked about how you send students to Bobby Rondinelli every once in a while. Remember that specifically. You said Bobby Rondinelli because I'm a huge Bobby Rondinelli fan. And it just resonated with me so deep. And this was years ago. And I was like, man, this guy really gets it. He's trying to help other drummers. Where did that come from? Where did that come from, Dom?
A couple of things. Not only Bobby Rondinelli, but I sent students to John Riley, who's in
right.
I sent students to Bobby Sanabria for Latin stuff, jazz stuff, John. So, I mean, to me, when I find someone that can help out more than what I'm doing, oh my gosh, I have zero ego in this. It's not about me at all. It's always about the student.
Right.
So I've got to go back to my parents. I mean, my parents, they've been gone for many, many years, but they never taught us love. They were too busy showing us.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Because that was always around. It was always about the other person in service to others. Servitude. My father was a volunteer fireman, aside from being a mechanic. And as being a mechanic in a local town here in Long Island, when neighbors, we were getting calls every night someone's car got stuck. So after dinner, my father would grab one of his boys, one of his kids, and we'd hop in the car and we'd go help him out. And we'd hold the flashlight. And he'd be in their driveway getting the car started for the next day to get him going. And it was always, whether it was freezing cold out, we'd go out. It didn't matter. My father was always doing that. And then as a volunteer fireman, he became chief. He ended up doing certain things for the village that just opened up the community. Back in 1960, a lot of the fire hydrants, when you opened them up to pump out water, junk would come out of it. Paper bags, flip-flops just junk would come out of these things. And it would clog the hoses up. So when my father realized this, a certain fire, he said, listen, at 2:00 in the morning, they put together a team every day at 2:00, and they'd go to a different hydrant and open it up and flush it out so it was flushed out. And he would do this at 2:00, knowing that not many people are using their water at that time, and we're going to open it up. So he opened up these fire hydrants, and he would do this here at 2:00. And a couple of times, if I was awake, coming back from a gig, I'd go with my father with a bunch of firemen. They'd open up it and let it drain out. And you'd see all this junk come out in weeds and branches and stuff. That blocks up the hose. When you're trying to put a fire out, you don't have enough water now to put the house out. So my father was frustrated as a chief. So he went to do this here. And then what he noticed was that each hydrant had a different amount of pressure coming out of it. Again, where it was located down the line, it might have had less pressure than others. So he began to paint the hydrants different colors for different pressure. You'll see hydrants now, and that became a standard operation procedure, an SOP. You'll see white, you'll see red, you'll see blue, you'll see yellow. It's different water pressure. So when you get there, you know what pressure is going to deliver that hose or that pumper that you might need. So my father painted the hydrants, and he was draining the water. So the water authority was seeing water being used at 2:00 every morning. They thought some kids were doing it. They sent somebody out, and they saw my father with his team of fire departments, with a big fire truck, doing this every night. They said, listen, you can't do this. My father said, oh, no, you're right, I can't do this. You should be doing this. You should be cleaning out your hydrants because it's blocking up my hoses. They said, well, we have to stop doing this. You're wasting water. So I'm not wasting water. I'm saving lives.
Yeah.
So my father in 1960, as a young chief, really kind of stood up for his beliefs and what he did because it was about servicing the people. Well, eventually the water authority took my father to court as the chief of the fire department to get him to stop doing that and stop painting the hydrants. They went back and they painted them all red again. My father said, what are you doing? He said, I got them all marked. I'm just going to go back and paint them again. So they go to court. They get to court. They present their case. This chief is opening up the fire hydrant. He's squirting all this water. He's painting our hydrants. So the judge listens to him, but I was in the court at that time. I was just a young kid. It was amazing. And the judge came on and said, Chief Famularo, my father went there in his uniform. The Chief Famularo, why are you doing this? My father stood up with all the lawyers that they had. He said, for two reasons. The water pressure I need to know, how to put the fire out for the hydrant that I have, and the fact that all this junk that comes out of it, they don't have the right straining system in these hydrants, and it's affecting me putting out fires. And he said, Your Honor, if I get to a fire and you decide to not honor what I'm doing, and I can't put a fire out and I lose a life, that life is on your conscience.
No way.
My father said that to the judge. The judge stepped back, kind of rubbed his face, took the gavel, hit the gavel, and said to the water authority, you will do exactly what Chief Famularo says. Under his guidance, you will paint the hydrants the color he wants, and you will get a better straining system, and you'll pump these out until he's satisfied with the water that's coming out of that case closed. Bang. Dude. So we grew up at that kind of level of commitment. That was always around. So when I kind of look at the drumming community, listen, we are a unified team of brothers that have global reach of having shared the same passion. At some point in all of our lives, at some point in our life, we said, I want to play the drums.
Yeah.
Whatever the passion was that drove that, it brought us to where we are right now. Jeremy, with what you're doing, which is fantastic. Rick, what you're doing. Bart, what you're doing. You guys are leaders in the drumming community. We're all ambassadors is what we're doing. And by bringing this together, it's unified us. So we need the strength of leadership to go out there and unite and bring people together and show and showcase the great talent that we have and let that inspire people. And I use the line to inspire people to aspire. See, this is the important part. Inspiration means to motivate someone. Aspiration is when you motivate yourself. If I can inspire people to aspire, then we're on the right path. And that's what we need more of. That's what I'm trying to do. And that's what you're doing even here with the Drummer Education Connection here. Amazing.
Man, wow. That's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. That story is amazing. You know,
Dom,
and I think, yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
Bart. Go ahead, Rick. Rick, go ahead.
Bart or Dom, I could just see, I was going to ask you, I wanted to talk a little bit about your book, The Cycle of Self-Empowerment, and ask where the influence came from. But judging from your story, I know that a lot of this came from your parents.
It really was amazing. And you are correct in that book. That book was about self-empowerment, which is what my parents taught us, how to be self-empowered. You know, my mother always said, you know, be a leader and not a follower. Go out there and make sure that you make a difference. You know, the essence of life, what I learned from my parents was to make a difference, to matter. Right. When I wrote that book, which is available digital now, which is a much easier way to get the book. And what happened with that book is that book has sold to over 30 countries and it's still selling. It's amazing when I see the results of what's happening. So, you know, we have a responsibility to be able to be on this planet. And the responsibility has happened to lead us towards music, and it happened to further lead us to drumming. You know, I say art is about expression. Music happens to be the voice that we're talking about. You know, it's the language rather, and drum set happens to be our voice. So art's the expression, music is the language, and drumming is the voice. That's what we do. So let's do it and really make a wave with this.
Right.
Let's do it.
And I love your thing in that book. Some people, what is it? Some people are wave riders. Some people are wave makers. Some people are wave riders. Some people can't even find the beach.
And there's a lot of truth to that. All these quotes, these original quotes, came up to me in the course of my global travels, doing all the different clinics that I've done around the world. I mean, I've traveled to over 60 countries for 40 years, you know, hitting the world really hard, just doing these different events. And when you're doing this much lecturing and performing, ideas come to you. I just started noting them down. And I noticed there are some people that are wave makers that no matter what happens, they make it happen. Doesn't matter. The weather doesn't stop them. They are just driven. You know, I mean, I just go every day. Nothing gets in my way. And if something gets in my way, I find a way of getting around it. Then there's the wave rider that kind of sits back and waits for the wave to be made. And then if they like it, they'll get on. Then there's a person that has no clue as to what's going on. They can't even find the freaking beach. You know, and any one of those categories, it's each individual's choice that chooses which one they want to be.
Right.
Yes.
So how do you motivate somebody that is that can't find the beach? What do you do? You just move along? What do you do?
Oh, I love working with those people because I've got to tap into what it is that inspires them. And I got to dig deep to what their passion is. And when I find out what their passion is, I then start to challenge them with it. And I use the what if. When I was a child and I was 14 years old playing professionally, and I started playing professionally at 12, when I was playing and I told people I want to do this for a living and travel the world, and people would say, it's not going to happen. You're just a local kid from Baldwin, Long Island. You're not going to just get a job at the post office and play drums on the weekend. When I heard that, that was like taking wood and petro and throwing it on the fire.
Yep.
It fueled me because it made me want to even push myself further to go there. So I got to find out what someone's fire is. Everyone has fire. Listen, it could be a kindle, a fire, a blaze, or a nuclear meltdown. I got to find out which one it is. If it's a kindle, I got to find that little spark, and everyone has it. And I got to now fuel it. And when you start fueling it, you start to see people start to kind of open up. So when I was younger, my dream and my vision was, what if I could play the drums and travel around the world? What if?
Yep.
That was my dream, the what if. The vision was the how-to.
Right.
And the how-to was to seek out the best teachers I could find and learn from them and question and ask and practice and put the time in and listen to the music and play with bands and push myself as hard as I could to whatever level I could. That became the magic of it. Now in my last several years of my life, I haven't been playing that much with bands. It's much more sparse. And some people say, gee, I see Dom soloing a lot. Doesn't he play with bands? Oh my gosh, from the age of 12 to like just, 4 or 5, 7 years ago, I was extremely active in playing, and that is still where my love is. But then all of a sudden, a different opportunity opened up with clinics and teaching that started allowing me to kind of reach people at a different level. So I kind of went with it. I still love playing with bands and still do when I can. I just did recently at a clinic I did over in the Suffolk County Music Educators Association. I played a clinic 3 weeks ago at a school here on Long Island. It was the first one I've done in a couple of years since the pandemic. 250 kids surrounding me, all sitting around me and playing with musicians, and it was incredible. So we have to continue to push ourselves to become committed as constant students. That's the name.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You're never done. We're never done learning. That's for sure.
And the great masters that I had a chance to study with, the Shelly Manns, the Jim Chapers, the Joe Morellos, the Papa Joe Jones, Max Roach, all these guys that I had a chance to sit down with, Art Blakey, Philly Joe Jones, Elvin, these guys still learned as they got older, and still right up until their deathbed were playing and practicing and learning. And that was the message. That was the message I got from these guys. Not just the great things they taught me during their youth, but when they got older, they kept going.
Yeah, they're always cracking a book open or something like that. I like what you said about finding that spark within you, that fire within you. And I share with my students all the time that very same thing, that, hey, you've got to find it within you and what it is that you want to do and push yourself. A few weeks ago when I was on your show, Dom, the Sabian show, the Sin show, I showed the picture of my house that I grew up in, and there it is. And I tell people all the time, that's where I came from. And if I can, that little room right there, that window is where my drums were. That was my bedroom. And if I can go from there to here with a pair of sticks in my hand, you can do it. And I think that's, I really learned that from years of watching you teach and taking some lessons with you on the internet. And it's great, the fire that you have in yourself. It really is. How do you convey that to younger students that maybe haven't got there yet? How do you convey that to them? To a young kid.
Yeah, I have an image in my head that I share with a lot of my students. I am running at my top speed. My hat is flying off. My scarf is flying behind me. I am running at my top speed, and 3 feet in front of me is my casket. That's how I image myself. I am going to run as fast as I can and do as much as I can do until I freaking drop. So that's got to be a personal commitment that we have of what we're trying to achieve in our life. So with that image is crystal clear in my head. And I am pushing myself that way. I try to be as healthy as I can. I try to eat well, I exercise, et cetera, et cetera. But the bottom line is, I'm going to push my potential. There's a line that I have in my cycle book that says, enjoy your achievements, but see your potential.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the achievements of what you've achieved, and that's great. But the potential opens up, there's possibly another level. So if I really have the drive in me, I'm going to push to try to get to that next level. And to get to the next level, it's not just a matter of learning something new. Anytime you want to get to the next level, there has to be a personality enhancement change in who you are as a person. You don't get to the next level by just learning something new. You get to the level by being someone new. That's where the next level is. So I've got to constantly be aware of that for myself, and I push myself that way. And when I'm with someone that is unmotivated, I accept the challenge. And that when I accept that challenge, I am a freaking pit bull in a bone. I'm on it until I get that person fired up. And I've had many people in my studio come in, and they're just kind of like, interested in drumming, and they want to learn a couple techniques. And after an hour of me firing them up, they walk out of here committed.
Mm-hmm.
Committed. And that's the difference between being involved and committed. It's like the story of the chicken and the pig on the farm. The pig says to the chicken, "Hey, how about we make breakfast for everybody here?" And the pig says to the chicken, "What do you want to make?" And the chicken says, "How about we make ham and eggs?" And the pig says, "Wait a second, you're involved, but I'm committed."
There you go. There you go. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Rick. But that's what we need. We need to be committed at that point, to commit yourself and grab onto it and push yourself to that next level of personality and character change, so we can rise to the level to accept the next level. This is extremely important to understand the process. And I think people can do that. You've got people in here from Newcastle, UK. You've got people that are coming in from all over the place, and people that will watch this even afterwards if they watch. I want them to understand that the commitment, as they hear the sound of my voice, is not coming from me. You've got to look in the mirror and make the commitment to that great song that Michael Jackson wrote called "The Man in the Mirror."
Yep.
Before I can change the man in front of me, I must change the man in the mirror. That really is where this world begins to change. And that's what I'm trying to do in my little way.
Well, Dom, there's nothing so rewarding as helping a person fulfill their potential. And you're the shining example of that. And, that's a full-time thing, just to help people get inspired and to educate them. And so there's not always time for gigs too. And being an educator and clinician, no one has done it more than you. That's why you've earned that title of Global Drumming Ambassador.
Well, and you say, I know you say in that slightly self-deprecating way at the very end, in my own little way, but really that's big, powerful stuff you're talking about. And it has the power to change people's lives. When you inspire someone, I believe the word inspire comes from the Latin, like inspirare, which means to breathe into, to breathe life into.
Right.
And that's how we grow. That's how we live, is by breathing. And that's how we change. And, this stuff is really, really powerful. I've had these experiences too, where as a teacher, as an educator over the years, I think sometimes, I'm just kind of doing my thing, and I'm teaching some people how to play drums, but it's not that important. Maybe it's a little self-indulgent even or something. But then sometimes years later, a student will come back around to me, 10 years after I've taught them, after they've left, and they'll say, "Those were some of the most impactful hours that I ever spent, was in your studio with you." And I'm like, "Oh my God, wow, this stuff really, really matters." Yes. And how you do it matters, and how much care you take, and how, you really get right in there with your students and know who they are and learn about them and what they need and how they need to learn and what help them achieve their goals. These things are really, really empowering, and they can have lasting effects way even beyond drumming and music that you don't even realize.
Well, Jeremy, it's a great point. And what's interesting about it is that, like you mentioned, humility. Humility is a word that my parents really kind of groomed us to understand. Humility basically means there's always going to be somebody better.
Sure.
No matter what you do, there's always somebody better. Right. So if I can push myself as hard as I can with the flesh and the carbon that I'm filled up with, if I can push myself as far as I can, then at least I know when I'm laying down, on my deathbed, I could say, I gave the best I got.
Yeah.
And that's where humility comes in, because to be humble is to realize that we can do better, and we have to understand to balance that humility with gratitude.
Mm.
To be grateful that we have these opportunities. I've got a wonderful wife that I've been married to for 29 years. I've got, 3 incredible boys that are just, inspire me every day when I talk to them, and they are just great kids doing great things on their own. And it's just amazing when you have that happening, it comes back to you. And when it comes back to you, you can look back and say, wow, it came back to me. I can sit back and be content.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can say, well, it came back to me. It's going to continue to fire up my next level of going from that fire to the blaze to the nuclear melt. I got to keep on pushing myself to that next level, because more then can happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched a video this morning with David Goggins. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah.
Amazing motivational speaker. And, one of the, he made it through the Navy SEALs and made it through all this stuff, and just an amazing guy. And that's the thing that he says, he goes, so many people, they get to the top of that mountain and I made it, and they sit back and they just, or they make a bunch of money and they sit back, okay, I don't have to work anymore. And, I think money just kind of gives you the freedom to not have to worry about money. It doesn't make you want to go do more. You've got to fire yourself up. You've got to push yourself and have determination. I've been playing drums my whole life, and it'd be really easy to go, I don't need to go work on that Afro-Cuban book today because I already know how to play drums. And when am I going to play Afro-Cuban music? Well, you never know. Go practice the stuff and learn. Get yourself better. You have to do that. I think.
Hey, that Afro-Cuban stuff, that what is amazing is that you never know where something might come in to help you with something else. Listen, John Bonham was a great jazz drummer. People don't think of him as a jazz drummer. He was a great jazz drummer. Right. He loved Morello and Buddy Rich. So what he pulled from jazz, he put into rock. So what you take, you give. This is the power of the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Jeremy, you were going to say something. I'm
sorry.
I
was just going to respond to you guys have been focusing on the got to come from you, and the commitment is personal and it's all about you. And of course that's true. But I think the value of a good teacher is there's nothing that could be more important to help you on your way. Yeah. And those teachers can come in all kinds of different ways and different forms and shapes. It's not always your drum teacher necessarily. It could be, a peer of some kind or a mentor in some other discipline. But I know, Dom, in what you do, I think a lot of people look to you as that inspiration, not just as a private teacher, but as like you say, as a global ambassador for drumming and for passion and for igniting passion and sharing passion. And I just think that's so important to see, for people to be motivated to want to do more, to be better versions of themselves, to achieve more. It's so important to see other people doing the things that they want to be doing.
Absolutely. And in the early days when I started doing these clinics, with Sabian cymbals around the world, Ron Spagnardi at the time from Modern Drummer had done an article on me, and in the article we were talking, and he said, Dom, with all your traveling, going around the world doing what you're doing, you really are like a global ambassador for drumming.
Mm-hmm.
You really become.
That's where it came from.
And he said that in the article, and it just kind of stuck. So then people started calling me this global ambassador, which I said, like, guys, I'm not sure what even that means. And then if you're traveling to different countries and different villages and cities and festivals and this intense pace. I mean, I'm a 2 million mile flyer on Delta Airlines alone. I mean,
wow.
I've been around the block,
Yeah.
Amazing.
I remember, I think it was the first time I met you in person was in San Francisco. You came out with Vic Firth to do a teaching
meeting. Yeah.
I forget what you called them. They were like
private drum teacher seminars.
Yeah, and I think Garibaldi was there at that one. I think
Colin Bailey was there.
It was such a great event that these guys showed up.
Yeah, it was great. And I was, that was really, I mean, it was a long time ago, and I was younger and greener and just not as, connected to the community. I had my own community with all that I did, but it opened my eyes a little bit. It's like, wow, I'm not doing this in a vacuum. There's people just like me all over the country doing it. And look at all these guys in the Bay Area that I didn't know about. I knew a couple of the guys there, and it was just so great to see you, encouraging everybody this is not about competition. You know, we're all going to help each other grow. We're going to learn from each other. We're going to send students to each other. We're going to buy books. We're going to use each other's books. We're going to watch each other's videos.
Yeah.
And I did that. I went home and I bought a whole bunch of videos that I'd been curious about. I bought a bunch of books. I connected with a bunch of other teachers there. We became friends, and it was really impactful, you know. And again, you never know what that stuff leads to. So
beautiful. Well, again, that effort, that was out of the brilliant mind of Vic Firth, rest his soul. He put that together, and then as I moved on, and you know, after Vic had passed away, I moved on, and I'm with Vader now, and you know, what's so good, they make such a great stick, and with Sabian, with the Sabian Education Network, that's a collection of teachers, close to 5,000 teachers worldwide, that I helped put that together and associated with Joe Bergamini. Joe Bergamini, who's a phenomenal player and teacher and educator. He's a partner of mine in our publishing company, Wisdom Media, and he really is just a smart kid. So we put together the Sabian Education Network, and now they've got this thing going out. Bart, you're actually on that. I just saw the video together of this connection. We're going to get all you guys involved in playing and getting out there, and you know, acknowledging yourself with your website on there too, to promote it, to get this thing going on. There's millions of drum students out there. Let's give them the direction of where they can study. Find a good educator that can inspire you and motivate you. And whether it's in person or whether it's this way of online teaching, which I've been doing for well over 20 years. I was the first one to start with this whole online teaching. People thought I was crazy in the beginning. And I said, guys, I think this is pretty cool. Well, here it is. Now look at what's happening. We're doing this now. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. When COVID hit, it was just business as usual for you, Dom.
It really
already set.
I was teaching this way, whether it was Skype or Zoom, teaching this way. So when COVID hit, it was not a big deal. If anything, my teaching practice has quadrupled since COVID. I am busier than ever. I've got over 3,000 students from 60 countries. It is freaking intense. And I love it. Everyone that comes in, we find time. I schedule them once a month, sometimes once every 2 months, once a week if they need it, whatever we're looking to develop in their schedule. And it's pretty magical to see how everybody is so enthralled by it. And the power of teaching now using this concept, the student saves time traveling. Listen, the time they're traveling to my studio, you got more practice time, and I'm able to see them on their instrument.
Right.
Now I can help them adjust it and tune it and to have this fitting. This is huge. This is 21st century at its best. Bring it on. And I saw this years ago when I first started doing it, when we had like a modem on the side of the computer that we had to plug in our phone, and it was like and it was slow, but it worked, and I was able to reach students in foreign countries. It was happening. I was getting them to join and get. It's been a real ongoing process, and now with technology, it's still changing. So either we accept the change and welcome it and learn from it, or you die.
Yeah, you become a dinosaur. And you know what I like about online lessons so much is on my setup, you know, I've got the 3 camera setup. I've got one in front of me, above me, and below me. I could show it here in a second. But I always, you know, if I was in an in-person lesson and I was trying to explain my 3-point fulcrum, which I stole from Weckel, you know, if I went to a student and said, here, hold your stick like this and put my stick in their face, they'd be like, get out of here, you freak. You know, I mean, you can really, it's under the microscope, you know, it really is. You said that, Dom, it really is. You're right there, man. You're right there.
And the students are learning, and don't forget now, because of COVID, many of these students have learned this way from school, doing online lessons. So they're all very savvy with Zoom or whatever format they want to use. And they're used to it. Now that they're back in school, they're incorporating these lessons where even though they're back in school, they're bringing in different teachers in networking to teach the kids. So it's continuing to grow to the next level. Listen, this is fantastic. Listen, 21st century. We've entered the 3rd decade of the 21st century.
Right.
What blows my mind is we're in this 3rd decade of the 21st century. There are new ideas. There should be higher levels of human evolution. And probably my greatest disappointment in life is that the human person themselves is not evolving enough. We are still at war. We are still hurting other people. We are still having, you know, egotistical dictators, and in a time where we should be really enjoying the blessing of enjoying each other and helping lift each other.
Right.
Right.
100% agree with you, Dom.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we all do. And that's the thing I love so much about the drumming community. Joe Bergamini, he made a joke about it when he was on the show. He goes, his guitar player buddy goes, or bass by whoever it was, in the band, you drummers are weird. You guys have drum conventions and you hang out and you share with each other how to play. We want to keep it all a secret, and it's true. I mean, how many times have you been at the NAMM show or whatever? And hey, how did you play that? And your favorite drummer, oh, I did this. And they take a second. Where's a practice pad? Well, you got a pair of sticks and oh, thanks. Mm-hmm. It's a free lesson. We love doing that stuff. Why can't I love that.
That's a flammabarda diddle diddle.
That's a flammabarda diddle diddle. Oh, by the way, I got a new book coming out, and I'm writing some solos in it, and I put the flammabarda diddle diddle in there.
Yes.
Hey, Don, all it is, it's a flam accent and a paradiddle diddle, and then a flam accent and a paradiddle diddle. Flammabarda diddle diddle.
There you go.
I think there should be 41 rudiments. Okay, I'm just saying.
Hey, Dom, do you have any new books, personal growth and motivational books coming out in the future?
Well, I do. Thank you for asking. I've got my cycle of self-empowerment was the first book that I wrote, and I wait until I'm inspired. I've got another book coming out following up that book called Owning Now. Owning Now is about owning the moment. I've had different stories in my my travels that have sparked me to understand being more in the moment. As I'm with you right now, we're in this moment. This is the moment right now. I'm not worried about the lessons I just gave, the next interview I've got coming up just after you guys. I just think about what's happening right now. So owning now to me is something, if everyone did it more, they'd start to pull the excitement and magic out of meeting people more and being able to remember situations better because they're living in that moment. So that's my next book I'm working on. But I'm working on another book about the business part of what's happening. It's called The Business and Art of Art.
Oh, cool.
And that's really about the balance of business and art, about how we have to push ourselves as artists, but also as business people. Mm-hmm. We need to understand that if I'm not focusing on the business side of what I do, then you're going to be the greatest artist in the basement of your home. No one's
exactly right.
So how to network, and that book is about that. And aside from several drumming books I'm working on, with a book called Accenting the Weaker Side that I'm working with Nina Parra, who's a wonderful, phenomenal female drummer in Brazil, and Stefan Chamberlain, a great drummer in Quebec City, Canada. We have a book coming out in April called Accenting the Weaker Side. And listen, I'm just kind of pulling things out of my hat all over the place. And when I want to get things done, I bring people in that can assist me and get them involved. So their name's on the book. They make a percentage of the book, and they're involved.
What about, talk to us about the sessions panel, Dom. Could you tell us a little bit about the sessions panel?
This is so exciting. Bart, thanks for bringing it up. The sessions panel on YouTube, I asked everyone to go by there and subscribe to it and share it with your friends. I'm interviewing great drummers, great bass players, great guitar players, keyboard players. My gosh, I interviewed Chick Corea. Steve Vai, the guitar player, Steve Gadd, Jim Keltner on drums, Vinny Colaiuta. The Vinny Colaiuta interview alone, if you watch that interview, make sure the seat that you're sitting in has a seat belt. Because you're going to fall out and you're going to hurt yourself if you're not. It's incredible. And I had the chance to interview Jabbo Starks and Clyde Stubblefield, the two drummers from James Brown. And just a few months after that interview, I had them both in the room together. It was a great interview. They both passed away. So I grabbed their last interview, and so many great drummers. Indugu Chancellor, I interviewed him. We lost him. Ed Shaughnessy, Roy Burns, Joe Percaro, Hal Blaine, these great people that are no longer with us. I wanted to capture them before we lost them. So I want people to go by there and listen to their words. And if you want inspiration, that is an endless well of inspiration from any instrument. Bass guitar, Leland Sklar, Nathan East, all these incredible guys that are just phenomenal players. Their stories and their anecdotes can relate to everyone. Mm-hmm. Your instrument, go listen to the guitar players. Go listen to Tim Pierce. I just interviewed him. I just a couple of days ago interviewed Paul Schaefer. What a great interview. Go listen to Paul Schaefer's story. Phenomenal that he's still going strong and all the things he's done. So all these people with the sessions panel, we have an incredible, brilliant team of people. Jules Follett is the head. She has the vision. She's an angel in this incredible business. She has a book out called Sticks and Skins.
Mm.
It's out in my living room, on my dining room, on my table.
Sticksandskins.com. You can pick it up. They'll send it right to your house. It's a phenomenal coffee table book. She asked me to write the forward to that book. That book is out doing great things. She had the vision for this concept of the sessions panel. She got myself together and Paul Quinn, who's a phenomenal entertainment lawyer and a great drummer. We're all on this board. We put these ideas together with Rick DeYoung from KHS and Mapex. And all these guys are brilliant minds that go out there to universities and give lectures to kids to inspire them. And we do these interviews to further give them a resource to inspire them also. It's just fantastic. Yesterday, I interviewed Little Anthony, who was one of the singers from Little Anthony and the Imperials.
Yes.
81. His stories, you hear the stories. He was friends with Sammy Davis Jr. and Elvis, and you name it, Smokey Robinson. The stories he had were fantastic. Tomorrow, I interviewed Dave Koz, the great sax player. So she lines up these interviews. We interview these people. It's just so exciting that we get to capture their story. That's what it's about for future generations to be inspired from.
That's
the last couple of numbers that I attended before COVID. Dom, you hosted a couple of, and those were just outstanding. They were standing room only in this big auditorium, and you had Leland Sklar, Steve Lukather, you had to be able to see that they're human, and it was absolutely inspiring. And I loved the mix of people that you put together, and that because you were playing off each other, and some of them knew each other, some of them maybe did, but to hear them to talk about the business and their experiences was just fantastic. So cool.
And we have all those interviews, like you mentioned. The last one was with Jim Keltner, Steve Lukather, Leland Sklar, and Paul Quinn was on that panel too. I moderated. The year before was myself, Paul Quinn. I like to have Paul Quinn in there because he brings an entertainment law, reality to what we're doing. But we had Vinny Caliuta and Steve Vai.
Right.
So and all these are edited and put up on the site, the sessions panel. So I asked everyone, go by there, listen to them, sit back and just enjoy them and take in the great inspiration.
Those were actually my favorite experiences at the NAMM show. As much as I enjoyed seeing you, Bart and Rick, as fun as that was.
And watching Chip twirl his sticks.
Yeah.
Watch it. Yeah. Oh, unfortunately, Chip couldn't make it today. He texted me this morning. He's like, gosh, man, I'm just not feeling good today. He's feeling a little under the weather. So Chip says to say hi, Dom, and he's sorry that he couldn't make it today. It was kind of a last minute thing for him.
Send him my best. I'm a huge fan of Chip, man. I love what he does. He's just such an incredible, visual musician. That's just fantastic.
He really is, and he is a great drummer, man. That guy can play, man. He is such a great player, So anyway, Chip can be with us today. I've found too. I think we've already touched on how it's it's not just about drumming. Sometimes I think this motivation and this stuff carries over into other areas of life and other areas of the business. I think we've all found that over the years that a lot of times our students will be saying things like, gosh, you've helped me in so many areas, and everything you said has happened when it comes to the music business. So that's why I'm really excited about your business book. You probably touch on a lot of stuff like that it has nothing to do with drumming, right?
It really is. It's about motivating someone. As my cycle book and my Owning Now are kind of like that, to make you think about how to motivate yourself and how to motivate others. And the business part of it, if we want to have a successful business, we have to kind of understand about how to motivate people and get them involved and bring them into your world to create a bigger tribe, so to speak, of like-minded people. Yeah. And in that part of it too, it's very, very important to inspire people and be able to reach out and pull them in and network and just make this world a more loving place. And it adds more value to who we are, and that widens our network. Money has never inspired me. It doesn't motivate me. Making more money. Can you make more money? Reaching people and servitude to people and inspiring people and doing that really fires me up. And I'm a firm believer that if you do that in the most positive and healthy way, the money will follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
And it has in my life. So I'm surviving doing what I love doing. I became a professional at the age of 12. I started playing drums at 11. And in 1965, it was easy to get gigs because there was so much going on at that time of band playing. And I've done nothing else. I am now 68 years young, and I am having the best time of my life. You know, some people ask me, they said, Dom, well, now you're 68, are you going to retire? I said, you got to be kidding. I'm having more fun now, making more money than ever before in my life. Why the hell would I want to retire? So I don't use that R word, retire. I use the R word to reinvent. How can I keep reinventing myself so I can still become, you know, purposeful in my life? That to me is the quest.
Right.
Beautiful.
Okay, now here comes the most important question of the day, because we're at the end of the interview. Here it comes, Rick. Hold on. We got three East Coast guys here. Okay. We got Rick. He's down in San Diego, but everybody's from the East Coast except for me. So here it comes. Dom, where do you get the best pizza in town?
Oh, this is deeper than deep.
Exactly.
This is deeper than deep, because
we're going to do a pizza podcast soon at this rate.
If you're going to be in New York City, believe it or not, there's a restaurant called Patsy's. Patsy's it's been there for many, many years. It was Frank Sinatra's favorite Italian restaurant. And when you go there, no matter what you order, it's as if you're in Italy. But when you order the pizza there, it is about as natural and as juicy, and you don't bite into it. You rub it on your face, and put it on your chest, and you put it in your hair. You wear it.
You wear
That's where you go with that pizza.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then, if you come out to Long Island, come to my village, Port Jefferson Village. I moved to this village on the North Shore of Long Island. There is a restaurant called The Pie, and they have a brick oven that they built, which is coal-fired, and they make thin pizza with fresh mozzarella and all fresh grown ingredients. We go there and we sit down and I order the pie, and what do? I rub it all over my pie. I take the pizza in through my pores. That's where you eat pizza.
Thank you, man.
Oh, yeah.
Do me a favor. Say mozzarella one more time, would you?
Mozzarella.
There you go. That's what we were looking for. That's what we're looking for.
You put on that mozzarella and you put that on, and you can taste the Italian heritage in it. And I took my family on a holiday for 2.5 weeks to Italy. My sons, their girlfriends, we went out there. My wife, I brought my in-laws. We went there for 2.5 weeks. No matter where you go in Italy, what you eat is absolutely the highest quality. You can stop at a freaking gas station for petrol and have a homemade Italian meal that'll blow you away.
Oh, I bet.
It's
That's
beyond
amazing.
comprehension. It really is. I'm still trying to lose the freaking 10 pounds that I gained.
Oh, man.
Dom Famularo, I thank you so much for so many things. This is this is one of them. Thank you so much for coming on the deck with us and spending your time with us. You are a true inspiration to so many people, not just to drummers. You are a great man, and we just thank you for coming on and spending an hour with us today on deck, Dom.
Thank you so much. The Drummer Education Connection, you guys are doing some great things. Jeremy, thank you so much. Rick, as always, and Bart, you guys are great. You're truly ambassadors of our art form. Thank you so much. Send me the link to this here. We'll get this thing going. Let's get some people excited, and we'll keep on moving, as I say, onward and upward.
Awesome, Dom. Thank you so much. Everybody, thanks for watching. We will see you guys next week on that. What is next week? What are we doing next week? Anybody know?
Let's do Student Questions Part 2.
Student Questions Part 2. Student Question Part 2. And what's your dog's name?
Yes,
we didn't get
who's that?
This is, believe it or not, my wife fosters dogs. So we have many dogs that she's fostered over 60 dogs and found homes for them. They come and they stay with us. She trains them, and then we find homes for them. And this is Luna. Luna is a dog that came to us. She's actually a little older girl, and she has some tumors on her stomach. Oh. So because she's older and with these tumors, she's probably not going to be adoptable. So some of these dogs that when they come by here, we keep them and we just take them in. That's what they call a foster failure.
That My wife Leah does the same thing. We
Oh.
have all of our dogs are rescues, and Leah does the same thing. That's fantastic.
They
Next
found
at NAM, they have to talk. Our wives have to talk. We'll
Oh,
have
that was
dogs everywhere.
fantastic. They found this little girl in the street. We've taken her in. She's now much healthier and looks like she'll spend the rest of her life with us here. And she's a sweet girl, just wants to sit on my lap. And as I have my other girl, Emmeline, here, that she's laying on her chair over here, they're always at my side 24/7. If anybody wants to understand unconditional love, get a pet.
Dom,
There
have
you
you ever
go.
done or said anything mean in your life?
My famous, I do have an ex-wife. Let's save that for another episode.
My idea of Dom being mad is like Dom's mad. Darn it. I mean, come on.
I don't say anything there because it's just unnecessary. Even with my ex-wife, we left on great terms, and it was wonderful in the process. Listen, life is too short. You got to really understand it's too short. I mean, already now we've entered the third month of the 21st century of 2021. These months are flying by. Years are flying by. So we've got to understand that whatever time we have on this earth, whatever breath that you take in, it's not just a matter of stopping and smelling the roses. I want you to jump into the rose bed. I want you to feel the roses. I want you to taste the roses. I want you to really enjoy each moment of life, which is what we do when we own the moment. And there's just no time for anything negative. Listen, guys, it's too short. I wish everyone happy and healthy in everything that they want, and onward and upward.
On that note, we're out.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dom.
We love you, Dom. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.
See you guys next